fast feedback from tests is absolutely crucial and important. Of course, there are various reasons why tests are slow in the first place. The simplest being you just have lots of integration and functional tests, and that might be a good thing, right? You want to have a good security net when you develop and iterate on your software and add new features to it. So they might really all be valuable, and you want to have them to give you confidence when you make changes that things are still running, when you add new tests, that your new features are working correctly. You might be running them sequentially. That makes them slow. So usually it's a good idea to think about running tests in parallel. You might be generating a huge number of tests to cover a wide range of inputs, which is absolutely a valid use case for testing, but sometimes that can generate lots of tests, and if those are slow, then you might be in trouble. Another reason for tests being slow might be recreating expensive objects. For example, if you have a Spring application, then you might be creating or recreating application contexts for each test, and that can take some time and can make tests slow. Another reason might be that tests depend on some external service that is slow or slower than if it would just be unit test. For example, if you have a database that you need to connect to or some external web service, that usually makes tests slower than just bare unit tests. You might have end-to-end tests or system tests implemented via browser automation like Selenium or WebDriver. Those tend to be slower than just unit tests. And all these tests are valuable. They provide you with confidence to release software. So we want to keep them, but how can we get out of this situation that this is slowing us down? The place we want to be in really is that feedback is instant or as quick as possible. And I think most of us remember this feeling when we started programming. Yeah, we just change something, try it out, and get instant feedback if it works or not. And that's kind of the thing we want to feel as developers every day when we work on software. We want this to be fun and we want to be productive. Of course, it's more than just happy developers, right? It's not just a feeling, it's also being productive. And that is absolutely important to your productivity, that you have fast feedback cycles. And the less context switching you need to do, the less you basically impact your creative process. So think about, you push a change to CI and you have to wait for, I don't know, 30 minutes for the build to run, and only then you will get feedback, right? What do you do in those 30 minutes? Well, you start on something else, you read emails, you get distracted, and then once that build is finally finished, you can get back and look at the feedback and see what you might missed, right? What you have to change again, and that takes a lot of effort. You want to have this focus of working on one thing, getting it done, and then moving on to the next. And also, if feedback cycles are not as fast, you cannot build as often. It affects your behavior really, and building less often makes it difficult later to debug if you have an issue, because the change sets then have accumulated already, and the cause might not be clear. It's harder to find out what actually caused this breakage. And faster feedback cycles also make for higher quality software, because the chance of a defect passing through the quality gates, it's much less. And the smaller the change sets developers can make, the better, because it's also much easier to spot a bug when you do a code review if the change set is small. And if change sets don't get stale and accumulate, it will be much less likely that you introduce a bug, for example, just by resolving a merge conflict. So fast feedback cycles are absolutely important. And last but not least, we've seen some companies that are really tempted to turn off tests, so not all of them maybe, but some of them, and other safety measures in order to ship faster. And that usually doesn't pay off in the long run, right? That might be something you do once, but then, yeah, you want to keep these tests, they're valuable. You just want to run them faster to keep the feedback cycles short. That's basically what we strive for. And this is not just a feeling, you can also quantify the cost of feedback cycle time. So let's assume you have a team that runs 10,000 builds per week, which is a typical number for a 100 developer engineering team. And every minute of test time causes 5 engineering years of wait time per year. So the exact calculation is in the bottom, right? You have 10,000 waiting minutes per week, basically. And if you spread that out over 220 work days, you end up with 5 engineering years just for waiting. If you would just wait, right? You usually don't, right? You don't sit around and do nothing, but instead you have context switching, you start on something else, and all the problems that I just iterated on the previous slide will then occur. So really, the bottom line here is you should try to quantify these costs of your feedback cycle time, and that's really all that matters to productivity.